What's up, everyone? Nick Smith here, and welcome back to another episode of Phenomenal Views. Okay. So, I have seen horror movies in which where inanimate objects have been involved with murder. I saw Sinister. Scared the piss out of me. I saw The Woman in Black. Scared the piss out of me. I watched The Conjuring. Scared the crap out of me. I just watched Oculus. Oh my gosh. No, guys. I am not even kidding. This movie was requested of me last year by my friend Chip Mabe, which, by the way, Chip, I hope you're watching this, because thank you. Thank you very much for recommending this movie to me. I'm going to go buy it now. I'm going to add this to my horror movie collection. Guys, oh my gosh. You see this? Huh? I'm never going to look at the reflective surface the same way again. Oh my gosh. This movie was genius. And I have got to give it to the director, Mike Flanagan, who has only directed 2 other films, Absentina and Somnia. This movie was fantastic. You know, my friends at MacU, Chip as well, he was like, Nick, you gotta watch Oculus. It is scary. It is scary. And I was like, I'll watch it when it comes out on Netflix. And it's been on Netflix for, I don't know, maybe a couple months. I didn't watch it. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Alright, so I'm gonna actually go into the review now. As you all know, for those who haven't watched, Oculus is a movie about this family, about a man named Tim and his sister Kaylee, who, through their childhood, went through a very dramatic experience with both of their family members with one of the family members getting killed by the dad, and Tim having to kill his own father. Now, in the beginning of the film, it shows he is in a mental asylum, and he gets out. His sister is at an auction with her fiance, looking at this mirror, and all through the film, they ant up on how evil this mirror is, how scary it is, and even Kaylee is obsessed with the freaking thing. She wants to kill it because of what it did, but because her brother has been in a mental asylum for so long, he starts throwing out science explanations. So, like, he's even afraid of being in the same house with her. And when she has a minute alone with the mirror, she's like, I honestly thought she was in love with the thing or something, but then she's like, I bet you're really hungry. I hope that still hurts. And I was like, okay. So, basically, Kaylee still has dreams about her father trying to kill her. So, she's even finding pictures of people that have been killed in really horrific ways and weird ways that cannot be explained. So, because her brother will not stay in the same house with her, he's like, hey, look, can we meet up? And she's like, yeah, sure. Can you come by the house? But she's talking about their old house. And so, she got the mirror. She's like, it's been auctioned off, so we have a couple of, I think they said like they have a day or something to try to destroy it, to get rid of it. And then when he gets in there, he notices the whole entire room has been wired. Like, there's a hole in the wall, there's a dog, there's plants, there's everything. And he's like, what's been going on? And she's like, she has 2 video cameras. She's making a blog, and she's basically trying to show all the people who called her crazy, all the people who called her brother a murderer, all the people who said that she was a murderer, or who called their dad a murderer. She says, this is for the people who thought that you were a murderer or dad was a murderer. So then she starts going into the explanation. She talks about the history of the mirror. She says that she couldn't find out where the mirror came from. But then she starts talking about how people who had the mirror and how they died weird. They said one girl died of dehydration and she was in a bathtub full of water, and it doesn't make sense. One guy burned to death. Oh gosh. And like the brother keeps throwing all these, and they are really good explanations. Like she's saying, plants are dead. The thing with the dog, their dog got really sick as when they were younger, and he's like, the doctor had me look up some kind of disease, and the dog was having accidents in the floor and vomiting, and it would cause death to plants. And the more and more Kaylee keeps talking about it, the more worried Tim gets. And so he leaves the house because he's like, oh my gosh, my sister is crazy. I have got to help her. She helped me. She has been alone. I've got to help her. And you don't really get to know much about these characters, but in this sense, it's okay, because these are not useless characters. They become more important through the film goes on. And one other thing I think that is genius about this film is how it fades back and forth from when they were kids to their adulthood. And like, it shows like how Kaylee has put booby traps basically to survive a room with the mirror. She has the kill switch, which is this crate or this ore or something that has a weight on it that will swing down and destroy the mirror. And so when she's talking about it, Tim's like, "Fine, I'm gonna bust the mirror," and she's like, "Go ahead and do it." And when he's getting ready to, all of a sudden he stops, and then they start arguing, and then Kaylee's like, "Why'd you put the stool down?" And then he looks down, and then he notices, she's like, "I think it just disarmed you." The mirror protects itself. And alright, so when Kaylee's basically trying to prove to her brother, one, she's not crazy, two, her dad was not a murderer. She even slaps her brother because he's like, look, our dad was a murdering rapist who, what he did to their mom was terrible. She doesn't believe it was him. She believes that their dad and their mom was a victim of this mirror, just like everyone else. And when her brother goes to call 911, no dial tone, no nothing, and then he realizes, he starts to realize maybe this is real. But then, what is the real trigger for him is when him and his sister are arguing. They leave the room, and then like when she starts to cry because he's like, look, you've been alone, and he's basically trying to say, look, you're starting to go crazy, you're obsessed. They basically try to play it off if it's really in their minds, or if what's going on is real, or what's in their minds. And that, honestly, I find ingenious, because this, I'm gonna call it straight up, this is kind of a backtrack to not Friday the 13th, but A Nightmare on Elm Street, because you cannot tell whether it is they're dreaming or whether what's going on is real. It plays with your mind, and that's what Nightmare on Elm Street did, because you never knew when they were in the dream world or when they were in the real world, and this movie captures that perfectly. So when this is going on, and she goes back in the room to check, to look at the mirror, and then she notices, she's like, there it is. And then she notices everything is not in place. The thing is, though, the mirror has them doing things, but they don't remember doing it. And then they look back at the footage. When they're having that argument, they're putting everything back. Like, they're putting the cameras to face each other. And she's like, you don't remember doing that, do you? Neither do I. And so this is what sets up, Tim's like, okay, this has got to be real. The mirror is real. But then it starts when it starts showing on their childhood. And by the way, the kid actors who played these two were great. They were believable, and they were just, we have I cannot pronounce her last name. Annalise, I think is her name. She plays a great young Kaylee. And with Garrett Ryan plays young Tim. And these two play well off each other. You really believe they're brother and sister. And the thing that starts with the mirror in their family is when they get the mirror, all of a sudden, it starts off with a simple thing. The dad says, don't go into my study room, like in Sinister, where the dad was like, you're supposed to stay out of my office. He finds a book on the floor. And then, it starts out with something small, like, when they're eating dinner, his finger starts to bleed. And then it goes on to where the kids are always playing laser tag, which I thought was honestly kind of cool. Made me go back to Barney Stinson. Neil Patrick Harris will be proud, kids. He will be proud. But they're playing laser tag outside, and then Kaylee notices there is a woman in her dad's office on his shoulder, like she's like massaging his shoulders or whatever. And then when they're at the dinner table, she's like, "Daddy, who was the woman in your office?" And he's like, "There wasn't a woman in my office." And then this starts making the mother start to go crazy, and the mirror feeds off of it and even makes the dad go crazy. Like, the mom starts seeing, she has a scar from when I guess she had a C-section. She pulls up her stomach and the scar is open, and it made me think of that scene in Prometheus when Dr. Shaw gets her stomach cut open. Oh boy, it was gross. The kids are starting to worry about their parents because they're fighting all the time. The office door locks itself. The dog... Here's one thing. Kaylee was going to do an experiment with the dog where she had the dog in a cage, and she was going to wait until the dog disappeared because the dog would keep wanting to get into the office. The mom was going crazy, so she let the dog in there, and then when the dad got back from golf, the dog was gone. The dog was gone. And so what Kaylee was going to do was feed the dog to the mirror to prove to the whole world that this mirror is evil, it's possessed. I don't know, it's something. But as the night goes on, things start happening, like they start reverting back to children. And there is a scene in this movie that I didn't understand. This was basically my reaction.
What the heck just happened?
Yeah. That was my reaction. Because there would be times like where they would be adults and then they would be kids again, and I didn't know if it was reverting back to like their childhood memories or if they actually thought they were kids again. But the mirror tricks them. For example, Kaylee goes to sleep, she wakes up, and she's laying against the mirror. And I thought she was waiting for the thing to come down. But then she wakes up and she notices I wasn't there before, and then she turns up the timer again. And she has like things on a schedule like for her fiance to call, and this is honestly something that really messed with me. The fiance, she has an image of her dad trying to choke her. She takes a piece of glass and she stabs it into the neck, and then she notices it was her fiance. But now, see, here's the thing: when they go outside, when they go outside the house, they notice that the glass isn't real, or she thinks that the glass isn't real, because the mirror makes them think something might be real and something might not be real. But when she goes in the house, and after she has stabbed him in the neck, she gets a phone call, and because he was supposed to call on the hour, to check in on her, and then she gets a call from him, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going? Are you all right?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Okay, I enjoyed the chat. I'll call you in an hour." And then she all of a sudden figures out, crap, that was really him. She killed her fiance. And the mirror just starts breaking both of them down. And another thing, they were eating on a certain schedule. Oh, this made me cringe. She takes a bite into an apple, and because they were changing light bulbs in their big flashy cameras, and she takes a bite out of the apple, and then it's glass. And I was like, oh, please don't be. Oh my gosh. And so then she's having to pull the glass out, and then she starts spitting up blood, and then she turns around, and then she notices, like, the brother's like, what's going on? And then she notices it was just an apple. And the mirror plays with their minds, and it also plays with yours as well. It's really creepy. But then it keeps going back to, like, how the mom would be going insane, thinking that the dad was having an affair. The dad would start getting weird. Like, the mom actually tried to kill the children, so the dad goes up and chokes her out and knocks her out. And then he calls the hospital, but the mirror starts whispering everything's okay. So then, like, things start going bad. Like, the dad gets a chain, and he chains her up like a wild animal, and he feeds her food, but the dad doesn't get food for the children, and they start to starve. And so it even goes to the fact of where Kaylee's like, all right, I've had enough. We've got to get my mom some help. So then she goes to the neighbor, and the dad lies. But what's also creepy is it makes you wonder if who I'm really talking to is who you're really talking to. Like, when she calls the doctor's like, you're gonna have to have your dad call us back. And she's like, it's like, what did the doctor say? He said we have to have our father call. Same voice, same tone. And it gets bad to, like, where even, and this is when things really got bad. The dad had the gun after he looked at the mirror, and then he lets the mom off the collar, and then the mom starts going after the children. And this was a big character development for Kaylee, because she takes her role as the big sister. She's like, we're gonna have to be really strong. I'm gonna open the door, and no matter what happens, I want you to run. And then the mom starts trying to choke her, and then she realizes it was her own daughter, and then the dad shoots her, and then the dad starts choking Kaylee, and he takes the golf club and he hits his hand, and I think the dad actually broke through, because when the dad got his son to shoot him, before that he said run, and it cracked the mirror, and then he woke up, and he noticed he was an adult again. But one thing that he's saying, he's like, okay, the mirror knows it's running out of time. It knows we know its weakness. It knows it's weak. So all we have to do is just get downstairs. Basically, he's saying we just got to get out of the house. But it also shows them splitting up, even though Kaylee's like, we got to split up, we got to stay together. It would make them split up without them even knowing it. And I did not see this ending coming at all. Kaylee is a little girl, and she sees her mom in the mirror. She goes to hug her, and Tim is like, all right, I'm killing you now. He hits the button, and it kills Kaylee. And I was like, no, freaking A. No. But before that, he called the police because of where Kaylee accidentally killed her fiance. So then the police arrive, and it reverts back to that same night. The dad was killed, Tim got carried off to a mental asylum, and it's the exact same thing, except Kaylee is dead. He's screaming, it was the mirror, and the movie ends with, he's like, wait, he called this in? Yeah, and then he did this, and it shows the clip of him pushing the button and him killing his sister, and the movie ends with him going off to prison, and we see one final shot of the house. We see basically the whole entire family and the people who were killed by the mirror are stuck in that house. And the house isn't haunted, but the mirror is. And when I seen this, I was shaking. I needed to go grab one of these things, because I'm going to need this to sleep tonight. But guys, I strongly suggest you go and watch this movie. Get on Netflix and watch this. I'm giving this movie a 5-star rating. A 5 out of 5. This is the best horror film I have seen all year. There's a lot of movies I haven't watched yet, but my favorite horror movie of 2014 is Oculus. I give this movie a 5-point rating. Guys, I strongly suggest you go and watch this. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Chip.